morning, Taffiny, and welcome to the Carb Paleo show.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure. Good morning, Mark. How's everyone?
Fine, thank you. Can't complain at all.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. So, Taffiny, our common friend Jade Nelson is actually the second guest we have in a couple of weeks that was suggested by Jade. So, thanks to Jade. Suggested we talk to you, and then there you are. Thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you for having me. And thanks to Jade, who is an awesome friend and an awesome advocate for keto.
She is, and she's very good at explaining how, things are going that way when it comes to her situation. So you're a keto chef and owner of the website Keto Kitchen School, and we'd like to know a little bit about your background, how you came, professionally, how you came to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been cooking, forever, and I've been cooking professionally for about 20 years now. My background has always been in food for health, whole foods, because I was raised in a whole foods, sort of crunchy vegetarian household. So when I began to cook professionally, I attended the Natural Gourmet Institute in New York City, and their emphasis is on, whole foods, but also vegetarian lifestyle. And I came from that background, but I've taught and cooked all different kinds of food all over, especially all over New York City. And coming from that background, I even spent time at the Kushi Institute, doing macrobiotics, all of that stuff. I took a very long and sort of arduous route to keto. To me, I wasn't a low carb person. I never tried Atkins, any of that. I had always come from this other way of seeing the world. And my husband and I opened our own restaurant almost 4 years ago, and my entire lifestyle changed really drastically. We left the city and we were just working, 100 hours a week. It ended up being just the two of us running the restaurant only. And my health took a very severe turn for the worse. And I gained a lot of weight, and I started to feel almost to the point of it becoming a disability, and my 100 hours of work a week was becoming almost impossible. And I was looking for a new answer. Nothing that I had done before in my past was addressing it. The smoothies weren't working, the juices weren't working. And so I decided to try something different. If you want different results, you have to try something different. So I started looking for an answer, and I came across keto. I had heard of it before as a therapeutic intervention for epilepsy, but I had never considered it as a dietary intervention for anything else. But I was moved by the science. The science made sense. And I was happy to see something that finally made scientific sense, that logically I could work with. And so I went out on a limb. I decided to try it. But for me, it was a big, experiment. I'm going to give it a month and try it and see what's the worst could happen. It's just real food. And by the end of that month, I was absolutely sold. I had never experienced anything like it in my life of the health benefits, the way I felt, and the change in my physical, mental, and emotional being.
Right. So your primary use for the keto diet is mostly for losing weight. You're not using it to control epilepsy attacks or anything like Jade, for example.
Right. No, I don't have anything as acute as that. I started it as a weight loss and health intervention. I continued it because of the changes I felt in things like inflammation, so painful joints that stopped being painful. My difficulty getting up the stairs at home disappeared very quickly. And my energy, which obviously was a very, very crucial for me in the restaurant, my energy began to improve. My mental stamina began to improve. So for me, it's an overall health and well-being versus, an acute intervention. But I do have some food allergies, and I've had a hysterectomy, for instance. So, I've had some health problems that those have been helped by this change in my diet.
Okay. What's surprising is that we have very similar background. I've also been, I started as a pastry chef, got into baking, then I got into food. Then I became a nutritionist. I'm a certified microbiology counselor as well.
Okay.
So I know about the Cushy Institute.
Yeah.
And also taught vegan vegetarian for a year and a half after teaching pastries and baking for another couple of years before that.
Yeah.
So I'm like jumping all over the place. But our common passion is food as medicine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I see that. So how can you explain how did you start, and how did you progress through, and as you went through, what kind of improvement did you see?
Well, I decided to do things differently altogether. So I found all the information I could, and then I decided to consult with a nutritionist. I'm sure you've heard of her, Amy Berger. She's at To It Nutrition. So I actually did a consultation with her just to make sure. I said, I thought, what the heck, even though I kind of think I know what I'm doing here, let me talk to somebody and get some support and make sure I'm on the right track. So I did that. And I am in the restaurant all day, every day. And our restaurant is a pizzeria, an Italian restaurant. My husband is a New York City pizza man. So for me, I had to really strategize how I was going to fit these changes into my life. I cook all day, but 90% of what I cook isn't something that I can eat in this lifestyle. Right. So, and I transitioned. I'm not a black and white or all or nothing person. I needed to transition. So I started by just cutting out, major sources of carbohydrate. Okay, I'm not going to have any more bread. I'm not going to have any more pasta. I won't eat rice. And then
no more pizza.
Yeah, no more pizza. Ironically, I'm allergic to tomatoes, so I don't eat much pizza anyway. So, it's sort of this built-in safety that most of the time I can't eat the pizza anyway. Right. So that worked out. And things that people have a hard time giving up, I had given up a long time ago. I didn't miss ketchup. I didn't miss, barbecue sauce. Those have been gone from my life for a long time. So in some ways, I had a sort of built-in advantage. And I didn't worry right away about things like carrots or, starchy vegetables, things like that. I didn't limit them at first. I just started, cutting back on the most obvious offenders. And then as I adjusted to that, I went from there and started cutting out more. But the other thing I did that really helped me was to concentrate on adding in healthy fats where I would have snacked on carbohydrates before. So I kept a container of coconut butter on my station. And it would stay fairly warm there, and if I felt compelled to snack or eat something, which in the beginning, as you transition, you do, you feel like eating all the time, I would eat a spoonful of coconut butter. It had a little bit of a sweetness to it. It was satisfying, and I could move on to the next thing I needed to do without feeling, if I had just tried to ignore the cravings while completely surrounded by food, it, would have not worked at all. So having something else there, and that fat started to be I started to feel almost, like calmer, and it started to sort of soothe my anxiety. And that was a surprise for me, but that really helped as well. So some avocado, a piece of beef bacon, whatever it may be, to have it there and have it available, and be able to move on. So I transitioned.
Yeah, better yet, a little cocoa butter on top of a bacon slice, right?
Yeah, the little fat bomb there.
So the reason I'm asking is because a lot of people don't know how to start or to approach it, and I wanted to hear from you. I'm not keto, I'm paleo, and so I could not explain, but that's why I'm asking you to explain for people out there that are still on the fence. How do you transition from regular diet to keto diet without killing yourself or without feeling horrible? So
yeah, and I think the transitioning is important, and everybody's different. Some people just, they find out they read the information, they get a list of accepted foods, and that's what they do, and everything else they put aside, and that works for them. I needed to, smooth that out for myself. But I also had the advantage of knowing. I know what a carbohydrate is. I know where the hidden carbohydrates are. So I had a big advantage in that respect. And I knew what fat was, and I knew where protein was. And, a lot of people spend a lot of their time just trying to understand what's in their food to begin with.
Right.
And what they're eating.
It is important to know. That's why a little reading beforehand would help a lot of people to educate himself on the difference between carbs and fats and, different nutrients before they get going, so they have a better understanding of what is what. Technically a pizza is vegetarian, but that doesn't make it healthy.
Right. Right. And, and what kind of pizza and what, whatever it is, there's so many permutations at this point in our society of everything, that it can be mind-boggling. If you have had to keep some sort of dietary restriction in your life, whatever it is, if you have a food allergy, if you are vegetarian, if you keep kosher, if you're halal, you probably are more educated about food than the average person who has no food restrictions. And that will serve you. You already have a sense of there's something hidden in this, or I have to read labels, and I used to always tell my students, that's a good thing. If you have to question yourself before you put food in your mouth, that is a good thing. It's going to serve you in your life because you need to know what you're eating.
That goes for life in general. Question everything.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So you progressively moved into that, and then at which point did you become, like, I wouldn't say 100% because nobody can do 100%, but let's say maybe 90% keto? It was progressive, or one day you say, okay, I think I'm getting there, now it's time to go full speed on it?
I would say that after about a month of transitioning and cutting things and making changes, I was to a point that would be, considered a ketogenic diet. I started to feel that I was going into ketosis. I wasn't testing at that time. But I did get some urine sticks somewhere along in there. And so then I did start to see, showings of ketones on the urine stick. And then I transferred to, like a keto breathalyzer, which at the time was pretty expensive. But I decided to, I really wanted to know what I was doing. I didn't use a blood monitor. I didn't have one already. I wasn't diabetic, and I wasn't in love with the idea of pricking my finger constantly when I'm constantly in the kitchen and constantly in water and constantly in food. So I figured I would try the breath monitor. And so that I started getting readings on, so that I knew that I was actually in, a state of ketosis at least part of the time. I tend to, whether it's due to stress or whether it's my physiology, I tend to go in and out of ketosis pretty frequently, regardless of what I'm eating. I can be eating the same thing 3 days in a row and see that it's, sort of bouncing all around. But
Right. The trick is, and that's for the audience, the trick is not to guilt trip about it. It's like, okay, know you're doing something, I wouldn't say wrong, but out of your diet, acknowledge it, and then go back to the.
yeah. And if you haven't changed your diet, look around at what else is going on. You may be lacking in sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe facing a stressful situation. If you're a woman, it's very much tied into your hormones. As your hormones change over the course of the month, you can just simply be out of ketosis because of that. If you feel well and you're doing the things that you feel you should be doing, you don't need to beat yourself up just chasing a number. And that, of course, I'm not talking about for a therapeutic intervention like where we're talking about epilepsy or,
Right.
for your brain where you may really need to chase a number. I'm talking about for general health and weight loss.
Right. So you mentioned some of the improvements. So your joints get better. What else?
I think what I found most surprising and most compelling was my emotional state and my mental state. I began to feel an energy. I began to feel energized, and I began to feel this sort of inner urge to move and to, I felt like a kid, like I wanted to get up and jump up and down on the couch. And I couldn't, I thought that was purely a function of childhood. I thought that was just something that was, you feel like that when you're a kid, and as an adult, you don't feel like that anymore, because I hadn't felt that way since grade school. And I think that was the most amazing thing. I had never, no matter what other style of eating I had done, I had never felt that, just pure energy and the need to burn energy. And I felt emotionally motivated. And I felt this sort of overall general sense of well-being and hopefulness. And I've had people, of course, say, well, that's a placebo effect. And, but I don't think anybody could have been, I did not expect any good effects. I thought, like, oh, yeah, whatever, I'll try it. But I didn't expect any of these. I didn't believe it. I was a non-believer. So and then as I tracked my ketones, I noticed the correlation. I started to be able to feel when I was deeper in ketosis before I tracked it and before I saw the proof. And I can't say enough about that. I lost about 40 pounds, which was a big deal for me. I had not lost that much weight in decades. Again, my painful, achy joints, and, I was getting some real problems in my hands from constantly working. That pain, waking up with aching, hips that I couldn't sit up and couldn't stand up out of bed, that was gone. My painful knees were gone and just gone. No painkillers, I just wake up in the morning and get up and do what I have to do. And then suddenly realize, like, well, I'm not feeling this pain. And emotionally and mentally, I just began to feel clear and more defined, more self-possessed, more in control within myself, more within myself, if that makes any sense,
more stable, less scattered, maybe.
Yeah, and much less emotional. That had been a real problem for me. I was on hormone replacement therapy, and I was becoming really emotional in the kitchen. So we'd be working, and all of a sudden I would just be upset, or I just would be beside myself, or just be furious. I thought
that was a normal chef state.
Maybe it is as well, but I noticed it getting worse and worse. And my poor husband is like just trapped with me, and it's the two of us, and he's looking over at me like, oh, here she goes. And of course we're working a lot, and it's a hot kitchen and stress and all that, but opening a new business and running a new business, but that began to level out. My emotional state wasn't so frantic either. I could handle things better. That was a big deal. Big deal.
And that without changing your hormonal medication or anything like this, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no other changes.
One thing we probably should emphasize is that, and this is what I want to make sure people don't fall into that trap, is that don't go into the keto diet just for losing weight.
No, I mean, if you never lost a pound, all the other benefits, if it's the right thing for you, are gonna be amazing. That's, I think it upsets me when I see that people, plateau or don't lose weight in this spectacular fashion that they're expecting, and then they just kick it to the curb. I'm not gonna say it's for everyone, but the health benefits are absolutely worth it, no matter what.
Right. What I'm afraid is that a lot of people are going to jump in because it's the new fad diet.
Yeah.
And then without knowing the background or without knowing on the scientific side the benefits, and then they're going to be disappointed if they don't get what they've been told. So another question I have is, did you read up on it before you started? What book did you read, or you just talked to your nutritionist?
I found everything I could online originally. So at the time, it wasn't nearly as popular as it is now. It's almost 3 years ago. So I found what I could that was seemed genuine online. I found the Diet Doctor website. I found Keto Diet app. And then I found Amy and I spoke with her. Then I started getting books, but I, by that point, had some pretty good information, pretty solid information. And I always do my research. I wanted to know.
Right.
And I always try to do both sides. I wanted to find some negative on it too, to see what it's really about.
Yeah. And because you're a chef, you were aware of the food health connection already.
Absolutely. And from my, my background, growing up, that was a big part of our lives. My grandmother was the matriarch of our home, and she had, she did it all. She realized my brother was allergic to dairy and got him off dairy, which cured his asthma. I was born with pigeon toes, and she didn't want me to have leg braces. She found some superfood supplement that she gave to me, and my legs straightened out. I didn't have to have leg braces. She healed her own rheumatoid arthritis. So for me, that was a very, very real, that food is a healing power.
Right. Good example. Great example. So you do have some keto products on your website. Can you describe them? By the way, I love your keto granola.
Thank you. Yeah, and of course I don't have a bag here with me, obviously. So my main thing right now, I've sold some different things and baked and done some things because we're in the restaurant. But I've been making a keto friendly, low carb friendly granola. It's also happens to be vegan and dairy free. I made it for myself and people liked it, so I started packaging it. And it's very simple. It's just made with coconut and nuts and coconut oil, and I do use a little erythritol as a sweetener, but I don't sweeten it very strongly. So I've actually sold quite a bit. I put it on Etsy just to have an ability to sell it because I spent so much time in the restaurant. I couldn't start a website for it, but I put it on Etsy. I've shipped it as far as Japan and to every state in the United States so far. And Puerto Rico. It's been going fairly well. I try to dedicate some time to it, and people, it's been well received.
Right, and I really like your recipes on your website as well.
Thank you.
They look very yummy.
Thank you. My goal is to do more, and my goal is really at some point to have the time to go back to doing more teaching instruction and videos. My real passion is where food for health and, true ancestral and traditional culinary meat, because to me this isn't some newfangled thing. It's just a return to our root,
Yes.
and traditional ways of eating, traditional culinary. So, for me, that's my real passion. That's really important to me. And, so I plan to further develop that as I can.
Okay. Well, speaking of which, you, besides your recipe, you offer cooking classes, or it's just mostly demos on video?
I do cooking classes. I've done some private cooking classes. I did a intensive workshop last summer at Keto Fest in Connecticut. The two keto dudes put that on. I will likely do those again this year. I did a demo, and then I also did actual hands-on workshops. But you can, hire me to do a private class or a group class. Teaching is really, I just love it. Before we opened the restaurant, I was teaching full-time, professional cooking. And I just love sharing my excitement about food. To me, there's nothing more thrilling than food. I cut open a zucchini, or, I slice an onion, and I'm just over the moon. I think it's the coolest thing, and never gets old for me. So I just love sharing that.
I found that as I got older, I really enjoyed teaching other people, transferring or passing along my knowledge, my experience, because 45 years in kitchen, so I have a lot. Unfortunately, on this side anyway, there's not a whole lot of opportunities. I did teach the local Whole Foods market and Central Market. I also taught in culinary schools, a couple of them, one of which unfortunately closed down because there was not enough demand. Vegan vegetarian school unfortunately closed its doors. So I'm kind of in withdrawal as far as teaching, but I'm glad you can find gigs and then carry on the knowledge. Do you plan to come to KetoCon in Austin this year?
Yeah, actually, I was there last year and the year before. Right. And as far as I know, I'll be there again this year. All, restaurant life notwithstanding, if all goes as planned.
When you come down, make sure to stay in touch with me because I live in Austin.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you and Jade, and we can get together and have a nice keto dinner.
That sounds wonderful. Amazing.
Like barbecue.
If I'm in Texas, you better believe I'm going to eat as much barbecue as I can procure. That's not our strong suit.
Please make sure to stay in touch before let me know before you come so we can organize a get together.
Absolutely, that sounds wonderful.
Last time I was part of that. Jimmy Moore was part of the group. There was a group of about there was this lady from Canada as well. I can't remember her name right now. I'm terrible with names.
Is it Jillian? Is that Jade's friend Jillian?
Yes. Yes. So that was fun. I don't remember seeing you at that dinner though.
I don't remember seeing you either, so I probably wasn't there. I don't know.
It was at a barbecue place, Terry Black's.
Oh yeah.
On Baton Spring. I do remember that.
I had lunch there, but I don't think I was there for dinner. Yeah.
Okay. So how can we find information about your products and services?
The best place to find me is at ketocookingschool.com. And I have links there to my social media and my Etsy shop for now for granola. I'll be restocking that this week. So yeah, ketocookingschool.com. You can find me pretty easily.
And then you have links to the shop and all that.
Yep, absolutely.
Okie dokie. Mark's turn now. Mark, are you still awake?
I will be when I turn my microphone on. There we go.
Okay.
So you said that the emotional state was the thing that you noticed the greatest change in. Did that come all of a sudden, or was it something that crept up on you slowly? And what were the things that really made you notice that there had been an emotional change?
Well, it started to change. Maybe it crept up, but I actually felt a very distinct difference from not being in a ketogenic state to becoming in a ketogenic state. It was pretty distinct.
Hmm.
So along with the energy, yeah, my emotional state began to change. And when I really noticed it was, in a busy Friday night in the restaurant when it was 150 degrees. And instead of, being moved to tears because somebody wanted change on their dish, or being furious and flinging the phone because, somebody had the audacity to ask some silly question, that all of a sudden I was taking it much better. And I think, literally my husband looked over at me and was like, wow, you're okay, you're okay. We're all right. Okay, let's move on. I mean, and I think that was the moment that I was like, oh, I'm different. My emotions have taken on a new timbre. So it kind of happened all of a sudden, really.
Excellent. And is that something that you still notice changes, for instance, when you're in and out of ketosis?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will notice feeling, like around the holidays, not only, of course, that there are all sorts of temptations, but I had to cook and bake a lot of things I don't normally and taste them. And, so all of a sudden I wake up in the morning and I don't feel much like getting up and I don't feel much like doing anything. And I feel like everything seems pretty lousy, even though they're exactly the same as they were the day before.
Yeah.
When I am either, back to being absolutely low carb or I'm back in ketosis, those same things just seem okay. And hey, I just want to get up and do what I've got to do, and I'm ready for the next task, and I feel motivated, and it's incredible. I think that's the one thing that I would have never believed in a million years if I hadn't experienced it for myself, and that I experienced most distinctly.
Okay. And I mean, you said before you were measuring where you were on the ketosis scale, where either in or out or sort of how far up or down. Do you still do that now when you think you're maybe wandering one way or the other?
Yeah, I don't do it very often just because of my time. But when I start to feel like maybe I'm really wandering off the path, that, I just have started to get very loosey-goosey and I'm not paying much attention to what I'm doing, just to sort of check in with myself. Then I'll start to track again for a couple days with my breath tone monitor, for a few days.
Yeah. Did you find the breath tone monitor a lot more accurate than, say, the ketone urine sticks?
Yeah, like many people, after being in ketosis for a while, the urine sticks don't really register anything for me anymore. Whereas, the breath monitor, I can actually get a grasp of what's going on. And I can test multiple times during the day if I have time, or, every morning or whatever it may be. So.
Which one did you go for, just out of interest? I mean, other people you want to know.
What is it, ketonics? I think that should be the right name. Like I said, at the time it was a little pricey. And I bought a less expensive, like portable one, but it didn't work as well. It wasn't as accurate. It was like one of those altered, alcohol breathalyzers. So the ketonics is the one that I have.
Okay, super job. The other thing you said that changed was you didn't suffer from inflammation and achy joints and that sort of thing. Has that been something that has permanently gone away, or does it come back from time to time if you wander off the path of food righteousness, if I can call it that?
It has almost permanently gone away. If I do something really egregious, then I will wake up with hip pain again. My knee really hasn't bothered me. Which that had been bad for a long time because I fell down and smashed it while roller skating with my guide kids years ago, and it had really always bothered me since then. And that has not flared up since I went keto.
Okay, so it's almost like a constant reminder of just how effective keto is then.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the occasion that I do wake up with the hip pain again in my joints, it's a reminder that I don't want to go back down that road. I would like to. Yeah.
Excellent. So you've got a restaurant with your husband at the moment, and you'd like to go do more teaching. Where do you see yourself in sort of 5 years' time? What's the big picture for Taffiny?
Oh, that's a compelling question. The big picture is in 5 years' time, I would love to be teaching, sharing recipes, have a well-rounded website, and I would love to be teaching professionals how to cook this health supportive way, because I just believe there's going to be much more of a call for it. People are going to have to realize that they're going to have to integrate it into, their therapeutic diets and so forth. I think there's going to be a huge call for it, and I would love to be helping other professionals. I'd love to write the textbook on it. That'd be amazing.
Super, Joe. Well, I've got a few more questions, but I know you're tight for time, so probably a good thing to bring things to a close there. And
did you want to add anything, Taffiny? Is there anything you wanted to tell us?
Well, I would just like to say thank you for sharing this time with me and having me on. I have enjoyed it greatly. And I would just say to anybody who's curious or is questioning this or just wants to give it a try to, be careful, because now it's become trendy and you may think you're doing a ketogenic diet and you're not, because somebody is selling you a bill of goods. But don't be afraid to try it, and don't be afraid to try to do what you can do. Don't feel that if you can't afford something or you can't this or you can't, you can make it work for you, and you can do it to the best of your ability, and you can do what you can do for yourself. There's no hard and fast rules. It doesn't have to be this way or that way or the other.
Right.
But most importantly, even if you don't choose this, choose something that improves your health and makes you feel better, and whatever means you have and wherever you are. If it means if you can't get off the couch, but you can raise your arms and, dance to some music you like on that couch, go for it. Do something that makes you feel good and makes you feel better and work for your health. And for a lot of us, that is, in fact, choosing a ketogenic lifestyle.
Right.
super.
There's a tendency in those kind of diets for some people to be extremely strict. And I have found that's, unless you're really, really strong-minded, it's usually a path to defeat, because if you try, I prefer your approach, progressively moving into it than going cold turkey and try hard, very hard for a short time, and if you don't see results or if you think it's too restrictive, then you quit. Before you actually see results. So I would rather they follow your advice and go progressively, learn and as they go and see the effects of their changes, and have this moment like when you say, oh wow, I haven't felt pain, or I feel better, or whatever the case may be, than going hard and fast, because there's too many people out there that's trying to convince you to do it the whole way, and the American way, the tough guys kind of thing, which I find it ridiculous, because most of us are not built that way. So we need to give ourselves a little leeway to even cheat once in a while, if as long as.
I'm a holistic minded person. We live in this world, and we're human animals. The seasons change, the temperature changes. If we were still living, according to the seasons, our diet would be changing every day, every month. Live in the world that you're in. You can't completely separate yourself from it, and you can't make choices that are so stringent and so impossible that you can't live with them. And you can't beat yourself up if someday you're going to have to just, whatever it is, go with the flow, and you're going to have to eat something because that's what's available. There are people on this earth who don't have the privilege to eat every day. I'm never going to get up on my soapbox and say what you should eat or what the next person should eat. Every day that I have food to eat is a blessing. The fact that I get to choose what I eat is unbelievable, huge amount of privilege. So I want to be realistic about that. I will choose what's right for me today and tomorrow and the next day, but do it on your own terms. Take care of yourself and do what works for you. I mean, that's all that will ever work. It has to work. If you can't do it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, what I found the hardest part for me is social events.
Yeah.
Social events, because you don't want to be the guy or the person that says, well, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, I can, and you make everybody feels terrible. So to the best of my abilities, I try to pick and choose what works for me. And if I know it's not going to be possible, I'll just bring a couple of snacks in my pocket, and then I'll munch on that and then drink water, and I'll be fine. I'll still be in the party, but I just won't partake the same kind of foods that the other people would do. But I'm still with my friends, so that's something that's also, because we tend to feel guilty. We go into these social events and your friends tend to pressure you. Have a piece of cake, do this, do that, and you can't say no to everything, right? So if it's a birthday party, I'll take a teeny tiny slice of cake, and if they ask me why, I just say, well, I'm on a special diet or whatever. I find with, but the trick, the thing not to do is to make your guests feel bad about what they offer you, and that sometimes can be difficult,
Yeah, there's definitely social pressure, But again, the flip side of that is, like I said, unfortunately, I have a not life-threatening, but an allergy to tomatoes. You know what? The greatest party in the world is not going to make me eat tomatoes, because I'm not going to eat them, because I don't want to feel that way, and anybody who knows me is not going to offer them to me. So, somewhere in there is your balance. If it really is the wrong thing for you to do, don't do it. If you have a little leeway, use your leeway.
Going back to the microbiotic classes I took, I seem to remember we had a fake tomato sauce that was made with carrots.
Tomato sauce. Yes. Carrots and beets, as I recall. Right. A little high on the carb scale for my new lifestyle, but I remember.
Maybe you can start a new trend at the pizza restaurant.
Maybe. Sure, it would be very well received. I'll make cauliflower pizza with tomato sauce.
That's right. Yeah. You just have to convince your husband.
Yeah.
Well, why not? I mean, all sorts of pizza places now offering gluten-free crust.
Yeah.
You could go one step further, and
Yeah, I've thought about it. We will see.
as an option, just. You don't rub people's face in it, but they say, hey, if you're into this keto diet, we have a couple of dishes here that you can partake in. Yeah.
I've had some couple people ask for things, and I've had some friends come in. So we try to cater to everyone as best we can.
Right. So you got your stack of bacon slices on the side for them.
Yeah.
With a little coconut butter or peanut butter or almond butter.
Well, and we have a traditional pizzeria, so we have fresh mozzarella, we have pancetta, we have prosciutto, we have lots of great vegetables, so we can usually put something together for everybody, and I can find things for myself as well.
Okay. Well, if you're ready.
One of the things about talking about food is it makes you feel hungry after an hour or so.
Yes.
Never fails.
Thank you again, Taffiny, for being on the Low Carb Paleo Show. And as we say in Texas, à votre santé, y'all.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.